Hello, ladies and gentlemen. So, I have a story out of the Washington Post. Democracy dies in the darkness, of course. But anyway, the story reads that she was trying to put us black kids down. Sub resigns after class says she spread that Martin Luther King conspiracy theory. And you know what that is? Well, I'm going to read it. So, this is by a Michael Bryce Sadler, and this came out February 12th. For many students, a substitute teacher means a refreshing change of pace for the day's lesson plan. So that was supposed to be the case during Nathan Beard's Friday class, or it was a music class, where he says the teacher's replacement was expected to put on a movie. Instead, he and his family alleged that the substitute berated the fifth grader for his clothing and made other outlandish remarks invoking President Trump and religion before falsely telling students that Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. committed suicide. So the offensive comments were made at Rand Road Elementary in Garner, North Carolina, and were documented on Facebook as well that evening by Nathan's father, Billy Beard. So if I say this name Beard or Bird incorrectly, excuse me, I'm pronouncing it. So the elder Beard said that the substitute teacher who came that day for the class, who was has since been forced to resign, told Nathan and the other boys of color in the class that their athletic apparel set them up for prison and that they were one mistake away from being incarcerated. So it made me feel at the time discriminated against. And it was like she was trying to put us black kids down as if we were nothing. So Nathan, in an interview on Monday, I told her, "You're predicting my future, and that hasn't happened. So I'm 10 years old, and you're older than me, and you're telling me based on my clothing that I'm going to prison. If she has a problem with it, that's her decision." So Beard says that the teacher didn't stop there. She was adding that she had came up with her own unusual lesson plan that glorified President Donald Trump and his love for God, the country, and all Americans. So Billy Beard wrote on Facebook, Beard said that the teacher told the students in the class that those who failed to support Donald Trump and acknowledge that he is a good Christian were not good Christians themselves. So the usual class was further marred when the teacher asserted that King's assassination, Martin Luther King rather, was fabricated. That is basically a lie. And that he had actually been, that he had killed himself. So this teacher was going around saying that Martin Luther King had assassinated his own self or killed his own self. So Nathan says that the instructor or committed suicide. The instructor asked the class if they had heard of King before making a false statement in which he and his classmates called her out on what she said, as they did with the other claims that she had made that day. So it was crazy because it was like the teacher was supposed to be giving us the facts that we needed to know in school to be better in life. But we're the ones who were telling her what was right, Nathan said. So everything she said was very wrong, and I had to let her know that Martin Luther King was assassinated. He did not commit suicide. So she went around telling the kids this, hoping that they would believe it. And so it would make this thing seem like it was real because it was coming from an adult. So while it is Black History Month of all times, we've got a lot of stuff going on this month where people are doing a lot of things towards defaming people's name, making up lies, trying to sell clothing that is in blackface. Now we've got this substitute teacher who happened to be spreading a conspiracy lie. So, whilst Black History Month, the students were not supposed to be learning about any type of history in music class. Friday, on Friday, Nathan said. So the family says that the sub had difficulty getting the students to follow her instruction, prompting her to divert discussions to politics, religion, and eventually the clothing choices of several minority students in her class that day. So Billy Beard said that his son wore a t-shirt, joggers, and Jordan brand sneakers on Friday. Okay, and it was an outfit that he had included in his Facebook post so he could show people what it actually looked like. So he told the Washington Post that his son was one of the four minority students the substitute teacher, who happened to be white, called out in her tirade, a notion that Beard found to be very problematic. And so my son doesn't sag, he doesn't wear his pants inappropriately, he doesn't do that. So my father said this, adding that the class is a majority of white. Okay, so for her to target them because they're young Black boys in this class are wearing Jordans, joggers, and hoodies, that's just bogus. So that shouldn't lead to her identifying them as a threat or prison material. So she basically were calling these, I guess they're the few African American students in the class. And so she was calling them out on their apparel and how they look and, pretty much targeting them in that class that day. So Beard said that he was happy with how the school administrators did handle the incident right away, which he and his son each reported to the officials that day. So Tim Simmons, the chief of communications at the Wake County Public School System, said that Tuesday the school's principal and staff first learned of the allegations Friday afternoon and spoke with as many students as possible before the day had ended. So based on the conversations, the substitute teacher was contacted over the weekend and immediately resigned. So Simmons said this, so she is no longer eligible to teach in that district. So the substitute teacher could not be reached for comment on Tuesday afternoon. Beard said that he spoke with its parents of the two other students who made similar complaints to the administrators. Okay. So, however, Simmons said that the staff could not corroborate every detail of the story. So the incident serves as a blow to a Black History Month that has been mirrored or in our, it has been pretty much, actually, I believe they should have said marred in racist allegations and incidences. So this is pretty much what has been happening overall. What people have been talking about have been happening, and this is February, supposedly Black History Month. So first, there were blackface scandals in Virginia and in Florida, and then Virginia and Florida again. And then the actor Liam Neeson said that he once wanted to kill a Black person to avenge his friend's alleged rape. Clothing brand Gucci apologized for being accused of making a sweater that invokes Little Black Sambo. And the singer Katy Perry faced also similar allegations about a model of her shoe line that also resembled the blackface. So, but Billy Beard said that he forgives the instructor, adding that he has taught his son not to let the words of others define him. He said that he's proud that I'm proud of his son Nathan for standing up for himself, standing up to the evils that be, which there are many of them out here in the world. So I'm adding that. So I'm trying to be proactive so nothing like this ever happens again, which I believe, now I'm going to add this in here, it will, because we've had all the series of incidences, and I'm sure that it's not going to end. We had a lot of people coming out, trying to sell clothing in blackface. And, anytime they stoop to that level and they do it, they release it right on the month of Black History Month, then you know what's going on. So Billy Beard said, he goes on to say that we can't let people with evil and negative intentions impact how we enjoy our life. Like we've always enjoyed it. Well, not everybody is enjoying life as we would want it to be, but that's pretty much the article. So this is by Michael Bryce Sadler. Michael Bryce Sadler is a general assignment reporter, and he joined the Washington Post June 2018 as an intern after graduating from the University of Maryland at College Park. So he's sort of fairly recent journalist. So I thought the story was pretty intriguing, and just to be the least. But see, this is a substitute teacher, and so substitute teachers are not permanent teachers in the classroom as of that time. They're filling in for a teacher that is the permanent teacher. And what I wanted to add to this story is that you have permanent teachers who do this stuff, who will say things and who will target students of color and who will, pretend like there for the kids, but they're really there for the paycheck and whatever they can get away with. And then we haven't had any lovely stories about white teachers who target black teachers yet. Although I'm just giving you um, a heads up to let you know that that also occurs very often. The only thing is that when it's happening to a student in the classroom, they hear the students out because that student's going to go home and tell the parent, and the parent's going to come to school and complain. But when it's another adult that is working at a school and they happen to be a person of color and they're targeted by teachers, peers, their colleagues, who would they tell? That is the question. And so it's very hard for teachers of color to come out, some in some school districts, to admit what kinds of things are going on in their work environment and be heard. Oftentimes they're not heard and they're ignored, and they either end up having to leave or they end up getting fired for miscellaneous things that have nothing to do with you know having a really valid reason why they've been pretty much pushed in a position so that they can write a negative report on a teacher so that they can get agitated and leave or move to another school, or they do want to find something on that teacher so that they can pretty much shut them down so they have no complaint, because the schools are about protecting themselves from lawsuits. And so that's the main purpose. And so it's interesting story was posted because this is a child. These were several children, and children are going to get hurt. But how about when it happens to another adult that is working in the same environment with other teachers that do this type of stuff? And they keep their job and they get away with it because they're a permanent teacher, they're not a sub. Yes, I experienced this. And so that's where I'm getting it. And unfortunately, there are many, I believe, many African American teachers are people of color who have experienced discrimination on the job. And so I wanted to mention that because I'm glad the outcome on this story had somewhat of a silver lining, but I want to say that there's a lot more going on than children of color being targeted. There are also adults of color that are targeted, but it is harder for people to prove their case because the school is about protecting its name, about protecting itself, and about protecting the teacher's longevity. If that teacher has been tenured in and it's just an aide, or if it's just a teacher that hasn't been there as long, doesn't have the years, the number of years, or the friends in higher places helping to protect them, what do people do in that situation? That's just one to think about. But anyway, having said this, like, comment, subscribe, and thanks for listening. And so this is pretty much the article if you want to read it. Out of the mouth of babes, what do they say? Out comes the truth. Thanks for listening.